All right, we're going today briefly on today. This is something God was dealing with me on. Sister Murphy Reverend Murphy, she hit on it some already. She talked about it playing, but then when she was talking, she talked about being discouraged, basically, and being disheartened. And I want to read this morning from this afternoon from 1 Samuel 17th chapter, starting at the 28th verse. 1 Samuel 17th chapter, starting at verse number 28. If y'all would help me read all the way down to verse 34. We'll take turns reading the verse. So 1 Samuel 17th chapter, it's 28 through 34. All right. All right, let's start with 28 verse.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
And Eliab, his
eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men.
And
Eliab's anger was kindled against David.
And he said, Why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride, and the naughtiness of thine heart. For thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. And David said, What hast thou now done? Is there not a cause?
And he turned from him towards another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him.
And David said to Saul,
Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine.
And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth.
And when he rose against me, I caught him by his beard,
and
smote him, and slew him.
Thy
Servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. All right, we'll stop there.
Amen.
Basically, I want to talk about on today what to do when you've been discouraged.
Amen.
So what do you do when you've been discouraged? You know, a lot of us, we find ourselves discouraged because over a lot of things, we find ourselves discouraged by family, discouraged by friends. And if you look here in this chapter, you know, David is not a typical warrior. He's not a typical person that you would send into battle. But, you know, sometimes God uses people who are not typical.
Okay.
And those who people overlook. God will use them to carry out his battle. And, you know, you ought to be glad when people tell you what you can't do. You ought to be glad when people say that you can't do this and that, because God will use that as an example and allow for you to do it. You know, I say if he can use a donkey, I know that he can use me and you.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to be overlooked, because when you overlook, that means you got an element of surprise to you.
Okay.
I was thinking on my way up here, I used to, sometimes I was the smallest one in the group. Then I was short, so I can't help that. My daddy's short. So whenever we played basketball or football, I was always the last one to get picked, and I was glad for that, because that means you got to work a little bit harder to prove what they looked over. They should have picked you. So every time we used to play basketball, there always be people bigger than me, taller than me, and they always would get shocked because I could jump higher than them. Say something about God. God uses the element of surprise, and he uses those who are not typical. He uses them to do his work. So I'm glad because with David, we know that David in chapter 16, David was appointed by Samuel to be the king. We know he was chosen, anointed by God because he was overlooked then. Because he was the smallest one out in the field. And Samuel, with him being a prophet, he thought that, he said, okay, because they look this certain type of way, this must be who God wants to be the king. But then God told him, look, man looks at the outer appearance, but God looks at the heart.
Hallelujah.
He said, so look, ask Jesse, do he have another son? And, you know, some people like that because some of the children that they have are not like everybody else. They may be ashamed of them because they got certain issues wrong with them. But God will use the one with the issues to be the one that he chooses to do, to carry out his plan. So he said, listen, ask him, do you have another son? So he asked him, and he said, listen, I do have another son. He's the one who takes care of all of the sheep, all the animals. He's in the field right now. And he said, bring me that son. And he said, truly, this is the one that's chosen by God. A one that he was ruddy, he was small, but he was handsome.
All right.
And God used this small, ruddy boy.
Yes, he did.
To be the next king over Israel. So, you know, God can use whoever he wants to carry out his plan. And now you get here to chapter 17. It says that the Philistines were at war with the Israelites. And it says that every day, this Philistine, everybody know he is. He come out every day. Goliath came out every day and heard a lot of insults, talked about Israel, cursed their God, talked about him. And you know, sometimes we the same way. You know, these people were scared of him because he was so large. He had been fighting since he was young. And you know, we're the same way. Sometimes when trouble comes up in our way, when we get something that's too big, we cower down, we flee from him. Nobody would go out and challenge him. But then here comes little small David. It said one day David came there to bring his brothers some food while they were fighting. And it said David happened to come there at the time that Goliath was out in the midst of the Valley of Elah, throwing out insults. And they said David heard this and said, is there no man who will go up against him?
My Lord.
And then they said his brother heard him. His brother heard him and say, listen, David, I know your pride already. I already know your pride. So I know that you came here just to watch the battle.
Jesus.
But he didn't know that God had a plan. He didn't send him there just to watch the battle. He sent there so he could be involved in the battle.
My Lord.
And not just be involved in the battle, but show people what he could do.
Jesus.
So he had to take the smallest one there.
Come on.
Just to show the rest of these soldiers, the rest of these fighters, what he could do.
What he could do.
Because a lot of them were relying on flesh, but they weren't relying on God. And that's what we get discouraged sometimes. When we get discouraged, a lot of us let people tell us what we can't do. And a lot of people lose their joy because if you look at the word discouraged, it says you lose your enthusiasm. You lose you get disheartened. You lose your enthusiasm. Once you lose your joy, you lost something. Because a lot of people, because we get intimidated by people because they have degrees, they're older than you, they're wiser than you. But God said, don't worry about none of that. Because if I called you and I anointed you, you don't have to worry about none of that because I have my hands on you already.
Yeah, Lord.
So there's somebody that's been disheartened and discouraged by situations.
Come on now.
That people said you wasn't going to come out of. But God said, listen here, if I brought you through this, I know that I can bring you through that also.
Hallelujah.
So don't worry about this Philistine. No, don't worry about this uncircumcised Philistine. Because a lot of the things that come up against us is nothing to us because if we put God first.
Yeah, Lord.
God can solve the situation. But he said his brother Eliab heard him and he got mad at him. He said, listen, why are you here anyway? I know you just came to see the battle. And once he began to speak like that, it said the farmer, everybody else around him, began to act the same way. But David didn't worry about none of that because David, he was prideful. He said, listen here. He said, I understand this. He said, Saul, and they sent for Saul, and Saul came in. And you understand, the spirit had went from Saul. Saul knew David. Saul knew David because he needed somebody to play the harp for him to soothe his spirit.
Jesus.
So here you go, this boy that plays the harp and soothing his spirit is here, telling him how to win his battle. He's supposed to be over the army. So you got to understand this. And he knew because David was knowing. He said, listen here. He tried to tell David, you can't beat him either.
My Lord, my Lord.
And David said, listen, so what's the reward for those who can beat this Philistine?
Jesus.
And then Saul began to tell him, and David began to give him reasons why he could beat the Philistine.
My Lord.
He said, listen, there was a lion and a bear who came and took one of my sheep. Jesus. He said, but God delivered them from the mouth of the sheep. He allowed for me to grab them by the beard and cut their heads off. And he said, I'll do the same to this Philistine. There's a lot of people who've been discouraged by family. They've been discouraged by friends. They've been discouraged by financial situations, by car notes, by bills. And they've been discouraged by their kids and they think they can't come out. But God is saying, listen here, if you just come and follow me, I not only will I allow for you to get through, but I'll allow for you to conquer over, and I'll allow for you to have his head and hold it and show people what I can do. So he said, listen, he said, I know because I did this before, and because he delivered me my sheep for the mouth of the lion and the bear, I know that even with this Philistine, it ain't no match for even what an animal could do. So he said, okay, I'll let you go out and fight him. So when he let him go out, it says that with David, he said Saul tried to put his own armor on him. He tried to put his own helmet on him. He tried to put his own armor on him. And it says that when he did that, it says that David couldn't wear him because it was not tested. Say he could not wear it because it was not tested. And a lot of people are trying to go in battle with stuff that ain't been tested yet. A lot of people are trying to win battles and you ain't been tested. But you got to understand that when you can go with what you know, God can use it. Because with this armor, he wasn't going to be able to win the battle because it was going to be too heavy for him to carry. And it says that David took it all off because he said, listen, Saul is nothing against you, but I haven't tested this armor. So I can't wear it into battle because I don't know how it's going to perform. And not only I don't know how it's going to perform, but it's too heavy for me and it's going to hold me back for doing what God wants me to do. So he said when he began to go out into the battle, he said he took 5 stones from by the brook and he put it in the shepherd's bag. And then he had his handy slingshot. Y'all know the story. And it says that even though he got out there, it says that he was still discouraged by the Philistine because he was smaller than what Goliath was. So Goliath discouraged him some more. So you got to be careful of some problems in your life that will speak and say that you can't overcome.
Come on.
Because if he would have went out there because of what Saul wanted him to wear, he probably would have lost the battle. And it was not tested. And a lot of people, you got to know what you know. And because you're a prayer warrior, because you've been tested and proven by God, you got to stick with already tested and proven. Because God has brought you before with just your hands and nothing else. God has brought you before on just bread. So you can make it through any situation where you ain't able to eat. If God has brought you before with just nothing on your feet, if it's already tested, you got to go through with it. You can't, some people trying to fight battle was not been tested. You trying different things. You trying to go to the you trying different studies. You trying different things. But God said, going through what you're tested with.
Come on now.
If you already tested with it, I can take this word. And I know I can defeat my battle. But you trying everything. You trying people. You trying to bring people with you. You trying to bring friends with you. You trying to get everybody to pray over you. You trying to try everything you can. But God has said, if you already tested, go with what you tested with.
Come on now.
So David said, I can't carry it because I ain't tested it yet.
Jesus.
I can't carry your armor because it's too heavy for me, and it's going to hold me back. But when he went into it with it, he knew already. When he went into it with his stone and with his slingshot and nothing that's on him, and he went through with his shepherd's bag to carry the stone, God said, this is where I want you at. This is where I want you to wear. Because if you wear just said, they'll know it wasn't you that delivered it. They'll know it wasn't just the armor that delivered you, but they'll know it was the Lord that allowed for you to defeat this problem. So you got to go through with just your word. You got to go through with just a prayer. You got to go with what you know when you're going into the battle. So that's somebody that's been discouraged by that situation. That's somebody that's been discouraged by people around you who you confided in and say that, I don't know if I'm going to make it. They say you probably ain't going to make it. But you got to go know and tell them, you may say I ain't going to make it, but I've been tested already. And because I've been tested and he's done it before, somebody say he can do it.
He can do it.
Again. Because I know if he did it for me before, over this small thing, I can take what he did in the small thing and carry it over to something bigger. And I know he can do it again because I already been tested. So don't worry about when people discourage you and say you can't do this. Some people say you can't teach. Some people say you can't preach. Don't worry about it, baby. Say I already been tested. And because I've been anointed by God, I can do whatever he wants me to do. Hallelujah. But there's somebody on today, you know, who's been told that they ain't gonna be nothing. Somebody that's been told because you're small or you're too big, you ain't fast enough, you're too slow, that you ain't gonna be nothing, that you ain't gonna make it through. God said, I already tested you, so I already know you can make it. I think about America's situation. America is being tested. Hallelujah. And because it seems like because health care is up for debate, it seems like because taxes is up for reform, and it seems like we're going to go into another war, another recession. God said, don't worry about it. You already been tested, and because you've done it before. It wasn't the person that made you get through it before, but it was God. So if you got to go into it, don't worry about it because you already been tested. And who God is tested, I know you can make it through. So I don't worry about the president. I don't worry about the country. I don't worry about the city because if you already been tested and if you God's and you know who you are, I know he can make it through. So he said, listen, he said, David began to talk to this Philistine. He began to say in the same manner that what the Philistine was saying to him. The Philistine said, listen, y'all might as well have sticks out here. Come on. If you're going to send this young boy out here to fight me. And he said, listen, don't worry about this. He said, listen, he said, before this whole assembly, I'm going to cut your head off. He said, and then when I'm delivered, they'll know that this battle wasn't mine. Come on now. But it was the Lord. And it says that when David began to talk to the Philistine was still talking. It said David took one of those rocks out of stones that he took from by the brook. He began to sling this slingshot. Yeah. And it said it hit him right between the eyes and killed him. And then not only did he kill him, but he took his head off. Yes, it did. Like he said, some people got to know that when you're going through situations that seem bigger than you, the situation ain't meant for you to fight, but the battle is the Lord. Hallelujah. I don't know if I got anybody here on today that's ever been discouraged. Jesus. Ever been to the lowest point in your life where it seemed like you weren't going to make it through. It seems like you've been up one day and then the next day you've been down. Hallelujah. I don't know if I had anybody ever been discouraged. Anybody ever seemed like they ain't going to be able to pay their bill. Don't know how they're going to make ends meet from 1 week to the next. But God said, because you already been tested, don't worry about it. Don't get discouraged throughout all of this. Because if you just call upon my name, they'll know that the battle ain't yours. But it's the Lord. So if he would have went into the battle, come on now, with his armor on, if he would have went into the battle with Saul's expectations, come on. Too many of us have other people's expectations on. We worry about what people are going to say about us. A lot of people worry about what other people think about us. But God said, don't worry about none of that. Just run your race the way you run it. And know that I'll be with you every step of the way. So when you've been discouraged, what can I do when I've been discouraged? You already tested, you already proven, so you better depend upon God. We know him. I just think about it because a lot of people have been told that they weren't going to be something, and now if you look at it, they better than the person that told them they weren't going to be nothing. Come on. So God's saying, because you already tested.
Already tested.
Don't worry about when people discourage you, because a lot of people don't mean good when they tell you something.
Jesus.
There's some bits of people, when they've been counted out by the doctor, and the doctor said, you got 6 months to live.
Jesus.
They turn around and live longer than the doctor.
Come on, come on.
I think about Hezekiah, when Isaiah, Elijah told Hezekiah, he said, get your house in order. He said, for surely you're going to die. Because he had his boil upon him. It seemed like he was going to die, but he turned his face to the wall. So he began to pray, and before Elijah could get to the middle course, it said the Lord sent a word to Elijah saying, listen, turn around and tell Hezekiah, I've seen his tears and I heard his prayer. He said, tell him I'm going to bless him with 15 more years. There's a lot of people that have been praying over stuff. A lot of people who've been discouraged and don't know how they're going to do everything, and it seems like the whole world is crumbling around them.
Yes.
But before the prophet, before the preacher could get out your door,
come on now,
God has already delivered you and answered your prayer.
Already.
I believe I serve a God that when everything seems impossible,
Jesus.
the Bible declares that everything is possible through God. So I don't worry about it. I ain't discouraged about it. If you came here discouraged on today, I recommend you go to Jesus.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
And when you start carrying other people's expectation, when you start carrying other people's race, when you start worrying about what other people say, and do what God wants you to do, I guarantee you can change this whole world if you wanted to. Stick to his plan. Stick to his purpose.
Stick to his plan.
A lot of times I've been discouraged. You know, I got discouraged when I first said I was going to preach. Because people say I was too young.
Jesus.
They say, boy, he can't tell us nothing. But I'm fine. I'm good. Because I've been blessed and I've been anointed by God.
Come on, Red.
It's just like the son, been tried, still and delivered.
Yes, Lord.
So I've been tried, I've been tested, I'm fine. Because I'm already proven, I'm battle tested.
Hallelujah.
And because I've been battle tested, when problems come up to me, it don't seem like it's nothing. Because I depend on God. So when you've been discouraged, the only thing you can do is depend on God to prove that person wrong, because you already been tested. It's up to you to take the test and you run with it. It's just like a test in school. When you already been tested, it says the first test, you use that first test to know what the rest of them going to be like.
Come on.
Because on the other test, you know what mistakes not to make on the test.
Come on now.
So when you already been tested and you've been tried, you already know what they expect out of the test. So I'm glad. I'm just like David. I ran in the lions, I ran in the bears, so I know this situation ain't nothing because I already been tested.
Already been tested.
So what do you do when you're discouraged? The answer is you keep on running.
Keep on running.
Keep on seeking God.
Keep on seeking.
Keep depending on God.
Keep on depending.
And he'll deliver you.
Yes,
just like he delivered David from the hands of Goliath and the Philistine. Amen.
Amen.